All right, Shalom Israel. Welcome back to Wednesday night class. And first and foremost, we want to give a shout out to our brothers and sisters out there amongst
All right, Shalom Israel.
amongst Houston, Stream of Wisdom, Houston, Virginia, New York, California, Cabo Cabo in Guatemala, Amiatza in London. Shout out and shalom to our brothers in Canada, Costa Rica, so on and so forth. And if you haven't had a chance to check out the other classes that from Stream of Wisdom or from Cabo Cabo, he teaches on Friday also, end of the month. That we ought to be on Friday as well. So for those that are brand new, there's some new subscribers and also new students in class. And so today we kind of wanted to make sure that we explain things for those that are new. Just in case they're jumping into a subject that has already started, so that way they know where we are. And we're kind of starting something new. I know last 2 weeks ago we kind of finished up a series called Beauty and the Beast with Jacob. With David, Nabal, and Abigail, and we were able to see the inner workings of Nabal. We were able to see the virtues of both David and Abigail, and how Abigail her virtue rubbed off on David to prevent him from making a great mistake that would have actually hindered him from being the future king, and also put him at odds with the Most High. So I know we had finished that up, but I think it's enjoyable because to go look at each individual mindset and their characteristics to see what it is that was strong about them that we can duplicate now, and also what we can avoid looking at the mistakes that both Nabal made and both David would have made if he would have been provoked to do away with Nabal. So it was a lot that I felt that I learned myself from that particular series. And but one thing that I think I pulled out more than anything is the fact that the Most High is fair and the Most High is just. And that was the thing that stood out for me personally the most, is that the Most High is fair and just. And I'll explain. Because you were looking at a situation where both Abigail was in that she could not control. She was in a situation of being oppressed by an overbearing individual that was harsh, rash, and very hard to deal with, hard to talk to. But she had no power, and neither did she take matters in her own hands and remove herself out of the situation, but remained patient and waited on the Most High. And then also both with David being in a situation of need, but him almost being provoked to anger, but him being pacified by someone else's virtue. So, but as far as the equality and what I've seen that's most fair, let's go to Ephesians real quick, chapter 6, and get verse 8. And then we'll move on to the topic also, but just kind of like things that stood out, because I think it's going to be some things as we read about the interactions between Jacob and Laban. We're going to see similar situations where their character is going to stand out and have an effect on each other. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 6 and let's read verse 8.
Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 8. Knowing that whatsoever good thing any man doeth.
It says, knowing that whatsoever good thing that any man doeth. Read on. Shalom to everybody online as well. Shalom everybody that watch online, and the water for chiming in. It says, knowing that whatsoever good thing a man doeth. Read on.
The same shall he receive of the Lord.
It says, the same he shall receive of who?
The Lord.
Okay, now, does it matter the condition that you're in? Does it matter your circumstance? It doesn't matter your situation. It doesn't matter your circumstance. What it's showing is that good deeds don't go unnoticed by the Most High. That's what it's saying. When you do right and you do good works and you have the right intention, although you may be in a situation where you're suppressed and you have no control, whatever good you do is not unnoticed by the Lord. Read on.
Whether he be bond or free.
Whether he be bond, which was in that series of Abigail and David. Abigail was the one bound in marriage to a man that was unruly. but her good deeds didn't go unnoticed. David was pacified by Abigail's meekness and her temperance, and that also didn't go unnoticed. And how do we know that didn't go unnoticed? Let's look at the definition of acquiesce real quick.
Can you spell that for me, sir?
ACQUIESCE, I believe.
Okay. Acquiesce.
Yes, acquiesce. Get that definition. Acquiesce. Read that real quick.
Acquiesce. To rest satisfied.
To rest what?
Satisfied.
So even though she was in a situation where she had no control, she still rested what?
Satisfied.
She still was satisfied with the circumstance. She didn't pull herself out of that situation. She didn't take matters in her own hands. It says to rest satisfied. What else?
Or apparently satisfied.
Go ahead.
Or to rest without opposition.
It says to rest without what?
Opposition.
So she rested with a man that was unruly without what?
Opposition.
Because who did she wait on?
The Most High.
And she waited on the Most High. It says what? One more time.
Acquiesce. To rest satisfied. It says or to rest without opposition and discontent.
And she wasn't discontent in her scenario. You know the man was abrasive, but she was not discontent. She was still able to yield to David, knowing David was on a killing spree. You know what I'm saying? But she did certain things at certain time, at a critical times, which showed her virtue, and it showed how she waited for the Most High to pull her out of that scenario. She rested content with the scenario, with the situation. And you see her virtue stand out in that scenario from 2 weeks ago on the series that we did. Also, go to 1 Samuel chapter 16 and give me verse 23. And before Yawab, you read that, I want you to go back to Ephesians chapter 6, verse 8 and 9 one more time. Amiyati.
Come, Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 8. Knowing that whatsoever good thing any man doeth, the same shall he receive of the Lord.
It said, and this is what stood out to me, is that the Most High is fair no matter what situation that you're in. Read on.
Whether he be bond or free.
Whether you be in a situation where you have control, or whether you're in a situation where you don't have control. Your good deeds are always going to be watched and monitored, and it's going to be remembered by the Most High. Read on.
Come, verse 9. And ye masters, do the same things unto them.
It says, and if you're in a position of control or power, it says, do the same things unto them, the ones that are under you. Read on.
Forbearing threatening.
Forbearing what?
Threatening.
Go ahead.
Knowing that your master also in heaven, neither is there.
It says, knowing that your master also is in heaven. Neither is there what?
Neither is there respect of persons with him.
So, give me that verse right there, Yawab, in 1 Samuel chapter 25.
1 Samuel 25, and what was this? Verse
1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 23, I'm sorry.
Okay. 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 23. It says, and it came to pass, when the evil spirit from the Most High was upon Saul.
So, when that evil spirit would jump on Saul, who was the individual through their virtue that was able to yield and pacify that evil spirit? Read on.
That David took in heart and played with his hand.
It says he took a harp and he played with his hand. Read on.
So Saul was refreshed.
It says, so it was through David's virtue. And what was the correlation between David and Saul? David was the servant to who?
To Saul.
To Saul. Saul was the master. But through his virtue, he was able to pacify the negative spirit that was on David. I mean that was on Saul. So if you look at the power of David's virtue and the effect that it had on Saul, it was able to do what to a soul?
It said, so Saul was refreshed and was well.
And it made him what?
Well.
So remember, every good deed goes what?
Unnoticed.
It doesn't go unnoticed. It goes noticed by the Most High. So because David had the ability to pacify his master, it was only right that at a critical moment in David's life, the Most High put somebody in his life, which was Abigail, that was able to do what? That was able to pacify his wrath. Just like he was able to pacify the negativity and the ill spirit that was on Saul. So this is one of the things that stood out to me, is how equitable the Most High is. The Most High is fair. What you do for other people in your position, you never know when it comes back to you in a time of need. And this is why David said, read that real quick in 1 Samuel 25, verse 32.
1 Samuel chapter 25, verse 32. It says, and David said to Abigail, blessed be the Lord thy power, or the power of Israel, which sent thee this day to meet me.
It says, for what purpose? Read on.
It says, and blessed be thy advice.
It said, and blessed be thy what?
Advice.
Because her advice did what? Read on.
And blessed be thou, which hast kept me this day from coming to shed blood.
It said, which have kept me this day from coming to what?
Shed blood.
So you know what? She was in a position that was able to pacify David's wrath. You know why? Because the Most High didn't go unnoticed to the Most High when David was there to pacify who? Saul. The Most High is fair, man. That was just the Most High blessing David with an opportunity to receive the spirit that he was given to Saul, which was relief. Yes, sir.
Can I pull a scripture real quick?
Come on.
Real fast. Ecclesiastes in the Bible, chapter 11, verse 1. Chapter 11 and verse 1.
Ecclesiastes chapter 11 and verse 1.
Because it proves the Most High is fair. It proves the Most High does return the spirit that we put out when it comes to how we serve others. Read.
Come, cast thy bread upon the water.
Cast thy bread upon the water. Does it mean your physical bread? Does it mean rye and wheat? No. The bread you have to offer is your substance. What you have to offer, or your virtue. Put your virtue upon the waters, meaning out there. Read.
For thou shalt find it after many days.
And thou shalt do what?
Find it after many days.
That good virtue you cast out there, that you gave to others, after many days or a period of time or situations, the Most High will bring that good deed back to you to refresh your bones or your bowels the same way. The same way we refresh others, Most High has that blessing will come back to you.
Perfect. And the Most High is always watching. He's always taking notice of what you do right, what you do well, and the relief that you provide other people. It doesn't go unnoticed with the Most High. When you provide other people relief, the Most High, right at the right time, when David was about to act out of vengeance, the Most High sent a spirit to give him relief. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of that equity that we see in the Father. The Most High is very equitable. And that's a takeaway that I've seen that stood out to me from that last class. But as we go into this next circumstance that we're reading about, is the interactions with Laban and David. Jacob, and how Laban outmaneuvered Jacob, which we know that Jacob just outmaneuvered Esau out of a blessing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of hustling going on in these chapters right here. So let's go ahead and get started. First, before we even get there, let's kind of build up to it. And this is for anybody that's kind of new, because we don't want to just rush right into Laban and Jacob's situation. Let's start off at Genesis chapter 28, and let's read verse 1 first, and then we'll just kind of skip on down from there.
Genesis chapter 28, verse 1. Right.
Yes, sir.
Good. And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and charged him and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan.
He said, "Thou shalt not what?
Take a wife of the daughters of Canaan."
Now Jacob was given strict orders from his father Isaac not to take a wife from the daughters of who?
Canaan.
He said, "Listen, I want you to get married, but not to these particular women." All right? He gave him strict orders not to take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Now, go to Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. Yeah, we're gonna come right back. Somebody else read Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. Whoever
I'm
got it.
Yathir.
When the Most High, thy power, shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it,
Go ahead.
and have cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites,
It said, and the who?
and the Canaanites,
And the Canaanites. Go ahead.
and the Perizzites,
Perizzites.
and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou.
Go ahead.
And when the Most High thy power shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them
It said when they come, it says when the Most High delivers them before you shall smite them. Read on.
and utterly destroy them.
Read on.
Thou shalt make no covenant with
He
them.
said do not make any covenant. A covenant is a contract. There's no agreements. There's no contracts with those individuals. Read on.
Nor show mercy unto them.
Go ahead.
Neither shalt thou make marriages with them.
And also, the marriage is off limits also. He said, no, a marriage is a contract. He said, listen, don't make no marriages with them. Don't do any dealings with them. Don't exchange. Don't exchange in any kind of way. There's something that the Most High is doing when he says, don't make a marriage with Canaan. Isaac wasn't being too harsh, or he wasn't being a racist, because actually by definition he is. Because by definition a racist is to be for one who is for his own race. So he is, because he's protecting his son from what? Read on.
Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto a son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son.
Why?
For they will turn away thy son from following me.
So the Most High is telling us not to deal with the Canaanites. He says because they have a habit of exchanging your belief, and through love, through loyalty and devotion, through petitions and urging, to want to appease somebody's, respect somebody's belief, they'll have you converted to a whole nother religion. And so he's saying, listen, don't do it. That's a law. For none of the children of Israel to deal with the Canaanites. He said they're going to turn you from following who?
Following me.
Right. So this is what Isaac is doing to Jacob. He's telling Jacob, listen, stay loyal to having one power, one God. All these nations are going to have you defaulting, going against what we believe in as a family, what we're bound to serve, the Most High, and having you worship something different. So he said, don't go to the Canaanites. You can let that go. Nathaniel, you had Genesis 28, verse 1.
Verse 2.
Now verse 1 one more time.
Genesis 28, verse 1. And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him, and charged him, and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan.
A charge is a commandment. That's an order. Do not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Read on.
Arise, go to Padanaram, to the house of
Bethuel.
thy mother's father.
So that's your uncle. Read on.
And take thee a wife from this of the daughters of Laban, thy mother's brother.
So go to Genesis chapter 10, verse 6. What's with these Canaanites that the Most High is restricting us from having to deal with them? What's up with these Canaanites that's so ill that the Most High said don't make no contracts with them, don't exchange anything with them, don't barter with them, no dealings with them, and don't make no covenants, no contracts, no marriages with your daughters or your sons. So we got to find out what is it, and we're going here because, like I said, there may be some people that have never read this or don't understand this, so we want to make sure we fill them in on the importance of why we're not allowed to deal with other nations. Read.
Genesis chapter 10, verse 6 says, And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan, and the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Sabta.
All right, so it says, and the sons of who?
Havilah.
No, read verse 6 again. Just slow it down.
Come on, verse 6. And the sons of Ham.
So after the flood, you had 8 survivors of the flood. Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their 3 wives. Now Ham, out of Ham's lineage, you had 4 sons that came out of Ham's lineage. They are who?
Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan.
And so out of these 4 sons, come grandchildren of Noah, and one of those grandchildren of Noah is Canaan. This is one of the grandchildren of Noah. Is Canaan. Now, give me Genesis chapter 28, verse 10 real quick, before we even read on down. You hold it where you are, Kariah. Give me Genesis chapter 28, verse 10 and 11. And then we're going to go to the Josephus page 47 real quick. Somebody grab that Josephus page 47. Read that.
Genesis chapter 28, verse 10. And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went towards Haran.
So when Jacob listened to his father Isaac and went towards Haran and looking to go to Padanaram to find his wife under his father's orders. Read on.
Verse 11. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night, because the sun was set.
And he said he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night. Right? So he said he stayed outside because the sun was going down. Tell them where we are we're in
Genesis chapter 28, verse 11.
All right, so Jacob stayed outside. He spent the night outside because the sun was going down. He was on the move. He was by himself, and he spent the night outside. Read on.
Verse 11 from the top. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of that place and put them for his pillow.
So it was a hard night for Jacob. He slept outside under the moonlight, and he slept on some rocks. That's not too comfortable.
No.
You know what I'm saying? You ever,
Tough one right there.
if rocks are your pillows, you might not be sleeping that good. Hopefully they smooth. But he said he slept on the rocks, and go ahead.
And put them for his pillows.
And put them for his pillows. Go ahead.
And lay down in that place of sleep.
So why did he stay outside? He's in a city. Why would he choose to sleep outside than anywhere in the city? Let's go to Josephus. Let's go to page 47. And we're going to go to book 1, chapter 19. And we're going to go to paragraph 1. We're in the Josephus, the Antiquities of the Jews, book 1, chapter 19. And we're in paragraph 1, page 47. Why would Jacob choose to live outside under the stars and the moonlight versus actually going somewhere within a city amongst the peoples of the land? Let's find out. Let's go to book 1, chapter 19, paragraph 1.
Yeah.
Antiquities of the Jews, book 1, chapter 19, paragraph 1. Now Jacob was sent by his mother to Mesopotamia in order to marry Laban, her brother's daughter.
So back then, cousins wasn't off limits. Obviously, the Most High was with it. Now, if anybody grew up around their cousins, I'm gonna say it again. Cousins was off limit. It wasn't off limit then.
It's the Bible.
Yeah.
No.
But leave your cousins alone, man. But read on.
Which marriage was permitted by Isaac.
It said which marriage was permitted by Isaac. Go ahead.
On account of his
Journey.
Obsequiousness.
Obsequiousness.
To the desire of his wife. And he accordingly journeyed through the land of Canaan. And because he hated the people of that country.
Because Jacob did what? Why did he sleep outside on the rocks?
Because he hated the people of that country.
Because he hated the people of that country. He wouldn't dare lodge with them, spend a night with them, sleep with them, or be under one of their roofs. Because we're going to go into why did Isaac tell Jacob, do not marry a daughter from Canaan. Do not marry one of the daughters of Canaan.
Don't deal with it.
Don't deal with them. We read also in Deuteronomy chapter 7, the Most High said, don't make no agreements with them. Don't make no covenants with them, no contracts, no marriages with them. Right? So Jacob slept outside because he what?
He he would not lodge with any of them.
Because he hated the people of that country, he would not lodge with any of them. Go ahead.
But took up his lodging in the open air, and laid his head on a heap of stones that he gathered together.
So that's all what I want from there for now is why Jacob slept outside on some rocks. Because he hated the people of Canaan. So what's up with the Canaanites? What's going on with the Canaanites? Who had Genesis chapter 10? Yeah, Karai, you had Genesis chapter 10, right?
Yeah, I had 10.
Read verse 6 one more time. Let's go back to Genesis. Let that go in Josephus. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 10. Read verse 6 for me one more time.
Genesis chapter 10 and verse 6. And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan.
It says, so the sons of Noah, it was Shem, Ham, and Japheth are his children. Three sons of Noah. They had children, which made Noah grandfather. Now through Ham, which we know is the progenitor of the dark nations, but not the Negroes. Let's get that in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary real quick. Let's get that in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, who Ham is, so we know who we talking about.
So you're saying Ham, although they're dark skinned,
Yep.
they have melanated skin, they're not Israelites?
They're not Israelites. Although Ham are, besides Esau, the majority of all the nations of the world have melanin. All the world are dark people. When you look at Australia, the original Aborigines of Australia are what color? They're dark-skinned people. When you go to Fiji, the people in Fiji are what color?
Brown.
The original Filipinos, before the Spaniards conquered the Philippines for 300 years, starting in 1500s, before they were given Spanish last names, the original Filipinos were called negritos. The word negrito or negro means what? Black, dark, black. You look at Micronesia, you look at Polynesia, and you look at Melanesia, which are all islands. Polynesia means many islands. Micronesia means small islands. And Melanesia means black islands. Because Mela is Latin for melanin, which means to have pigment or color. So all the people of Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia are what color people? Dark-skinned people. So when you look at the world, when you look at all the islands of the world, before Mongolian conquest, before Turkish conquest, you look at the original Arabs, Ishmaelites. The original Ishmaelite people are what color? The Arabs are what color? Dark-skinned people prior to conquest. So when you look at the nations of the world, the majority of the world is dark. When you look at the original Incas, Mayas, Toltecs, Olmecs, the Native American Indians, they all have color. The world is a people of color. There's only one people that are in charge of the world that have no pigmentation. So, just because there's other people with melanin does not classify them as being the children of promise. That does not classify them as being Israelites. The whole world got color, but that doesn't mean the Most High's covenant is operating through that particular line of people. All right? Read that right there, Genesis chapter 10, verse 6, one more time.
Genesis chapter 10 and verse 6.
And we got the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, right? All right, let's read that.
And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan.
All these are the sons of Ham. And Ham, by definition, read that right there in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary.
Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood.
So he was about 96 years old before the flood came. He survived the flood. Read on.
And one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor.
The progenitor means the father of. So he became the father of, or the progenitor of who?
Of the dark races.
It says so, of the dark races. Such as who?
Not the Negroes.
Not the Negroes. Just because Negroes have color does not mean we're Hamitic people. We're Shemitic. We're not Hamitic. So don't fall for the okie doke when people tell you, oh, you're being anti-Semitic. How can you be a Semite and be Shemitic and be anti-Shemitic at the same time? People don't know history. They don't know anthropology, and they don't understand the Bible. You can't be anti-Semitic when you are a Shemite. See, but the misconception is that the Negroes are Hamitic.
Yep.
And through Ham, through Canaan, received the curse from his father Noah. Through that situation that Noah had dealt with when Noah was drinking too much, and Canaan mocked his father being naked and drunk. So through that circumstance, Canaan received the curse. He said, a servant of his brother shall he shall be.
Servant of servants.
Servant of servants he shall be. One that will serve his brother. Yes, sir.
So that story when Noah was found in his tent, and he was gonna basically, they didn't really say it to detail. He said he mocked them.
Yes, he mocked them when Noah was drunk. As part of one of the things that he did was cultivate the land after the flood. So when the land dried up, he cultivated vineyards. Through those vineyards, he created wine. Through the wine, he got drunk. He got drunk and he was naked. His son Canaan came and mocked him while he was naked. But the two other brothers, Shem and Japheth, they walked backwards. They walked backwards with a sheet to cover their father's nakedness.
In respect.
Out of respect. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want to look at their father's nakedness. You know what I'm saying? You're not supposed to be looking at another man naked. Unless you're in the time of the Greeks, or you have a Greco-Roman society, and you're in a gymnasium, and you're in a sauna in a steam room naked with another man sitting next to you, which is unnatural in biblical context. So, from that situation, Noah cursed Canaan for mocking him instead of covering him up out of respect for his father. So, that curse is what educators, when you're dealing with race science and you're dealing with colonial white supremacy, they'll say that the black man, the Negro, is Ham. We're not Hamitic, we're Shemitic.
Now, let me ask you something, Swan.
Mm-hmm.
When you're saying Ham, and they're the progenitors of the dark nations, where geographically would Ham be located today's time?
Located today is Africa. Ham used to be, Africa used to be called the land of Ham. On certain maps, Africa was known as Ham, the land of Ham. This is on a map called a T&O map. If you get a map called a T&O map in certain times would separate the world by three races. If you remember in school, you had the Mongoloid, which was the Asians. That's the yellow man.
Yep.
You had the Caucasoid, which is the European, the white man. And then you have the Negroid, which is the so-called black man. Well, through French, Spanish, Italian education systems, they classify people amongst those three groups: the Caucasoid, the Negroid, and the Mongoloid. Now, they say the yellow man is the Asian, the white man is the Caucasian, and the Negroid is the black man. Well, the Bible doesn't classify people in just three classifications or three races. You know, there's more than three identities, but that's just through modern day education. And this is why you saw those three types of men: the yellow man, the brown, the black man, and the white man. You saw that on a map in school, in this Greco-Roman education system that we have. But the Bible gives you the origin of race. The Bible gives you the origin of nationality, and who belongs to what tribe, and who belongs to what peoples. So, just because you see in school the Negroid, and they have him in the land of Africa only, they say, well, that's where the Negroid is. The Caucasoid is in East Asia, being Mongolia, Turkey, Ararat, South Georgia, Russia, between the Caspian and Black Sea. Then you have the Mongoloid, which is up by China, which is you got Europe and Asia, and then you got up in China. Below China, you have the Mongols, Mongolia, and then you have under the steeps of Mongols, you got the Nepalians, you got Kazakhstan, you got on the little country Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
You know, you got all these. What? No, that's
Indians,
India's more south. And speaking of Indians, when you're dealing with Elam or Pakistan, they're dark also.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do today is go by Fredericksburg Road and the medical center, and you're gonna see some people that
same skin tone
that are darker actually.
Yeah, or darker.
They're darker than you are. You know what I'm saying? because the world is a people of color. But
Yeah.
but the covenant and the agreement and the contract that the Most High had with Abraham, which we're gonna get into, it went from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. Although Ishmael, which is the Arab people, are dark-skinned people, but that doesn't mean the covenant and the promises were for them. Just really quickly, let's go to Romans chapter 9, verse 1 through 4 real quick. Just really quickly. And then we want to come back to this situation between why did Isaac tell Jacob, do not marry the Canaanites, which is the grandson of Ham, or the grandson of Noah, the son of Ham. Romans chapter 9 in the New Testament real quick. Let's get Romans chapter 9. Let's read 1 through 4 real quick.
Come. Romans chapter 9 and verse 1 reads, I say the truth in Yahushua.
This is Paul speaking. Paul said, I say the truth in Christ. I say the truth in Yahushua. Read on.
I lie not.
Paul is a man of God. He said, I am not lying. Read on.
My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Spirit,
Read on.
that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Yahushua for my brother.
He said, Paul said, I wish I could have taken the place of Christ and been crucified for my brethren's sake. He says, I wish I would have died for my brothers like Christ died for his brothers. Who is he talking about? Read on.
My kinsmen according to the flesh.
So when we're talking about kinsmen, we're talking about kinsfolk. We're talking about kinspeople. According to the what?
Flesh.
The flesh. Talking about the people that have the same, they're the same nation. They're of the same nationality. Right? According to the flesh. Read on.
My kinsmen according to the flesh.
And who is Paul's kinsman? Who is Paul's kinsfolk according to the flesh? Read on.
Who are Israelites.
So who did Paul say that he could have died and been crucified for?
Israelites.
It said, now let's talk about these Israelites. Read on.
To whom pertaineth the adoption.
Of all the people in the world, when you actually read the Bible, God said he was going to adopt a particular people. And we're going to continue this in Romans. We're doing this in the New Testament also. He says, who pertaineth the adoption, they get to be adopted back to the Most High, the Israelites. What else about the Israelites?
And the glory.
It says to pertain means to belong. So they pertain to pertaineth the adoption. The adoption to go back to the Father belongs to the Israelites. The kingdom of heaven, which is the glory that the Most High allows us to receive if we're found faithful. Read on.
And the covenant.
The covenants, the laws of the Bible were given to who?
To the Israelites.
To the Israelites, right? Read on.
And the giving of the law.
And the giving of the law was given to who?
The Israelites.
Go ahead.
And the service of the Most High.
And who were allowed to be priests of the Most High or to do the service of God?
The Israelites.
No other nation were allowed to be priests and do the service of God. Read on.
And the promises.
And the promises. Who were the promises belonging to that the Most High made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob?
The Israelites.
The Israelites. And what else belongs to the Israelites? Read on.
Whose are the fathers.
Go ahead.
And of whom, as concerning the flesh, Yahushua came.
It says, concerning the flesh, Christ came for who?
The Israelites.
Christ died for who?
The Israelites.
So now, it may seem a shock to a lot of people. But Paul is clarifying this. He's clearing it up right now. It may seem like a shock because these are things we never heard before. That Christ died for the Israelites. That the Israelites was given the commandments. They were the only ones allowed to serve God. All the promises that God made with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was for the Israelites. So now, what a lot of people may say, jump down to verse 14. Read that.
Come, verse 14. What shall we say then?
So after hearing what Paul is saying, so what shall we say then? Read on.
Is there unrighteousness with the Most High?
Is God unrighteous because he has a favorite people?
That's what society will tell you. Society will say, no, we're all created equal.
That's what a lot of people say. Well, if God is not for the whole world, then I'm not for God. Some people would make that bold statement.
Yeah.
People will
I've
say
heard
that's
that
not my Jesus.
Yeah. Because they can't believe what they're reading. They can't believe what they're hearing. But Paul is telling you, he's asking you a question. After telling you who the promises and all these things were benefited for, he's asking a question. Is there unrighteousness with God? Is God unrighteous because he has a favorite people? Read on.
God forbid.
That means no. God is not unrighteous because he has a favorite people. Read verse 13.
God, as it is written, Jacob have I loved.
Because what people don't understand is that God loves certain people and God hates certain people. And that because we may have been taught to be unbiased and to accept all people
And inclusive.
and inclusive, that doesn't mean that God feels the same way. God made people for a particular purpose.
Yep.
Everybody has a role. And there are certain individuals that are in the Bible. All Paul is quoting is Malachi.
Yep. No, that's it.
That's all he's quoting. He's quoting a verse from the Old Testament in Malachi chapter 3. It might be 3 and 6. 3 and 6. He's quoting an Old Testament verse. Because it's known in the Bible, in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, that God has a people that he loves and God has a people that he hates. It's written. Is Paul saying something new?
Nope.
He said, as it is written. So let's find out where it's written at. Malachi,
It's one.
chapter 1 and 6.
1 and 2.
1 and 2?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Read that.
Malachi chapter 1, verse 2. I have loved you, saith the Lord.
He's talking to Malachi is a prophet to who? To the children of Israel. He said, I have loved you, said the Lord. Read on.
It says, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us?
But we say, man, I don't see how God loves us because we're on the bottom. We're in the projects, the ghettos, the slums, the barrio. We're in the hood. We're on the reservations.
In worse condition.
We're in all the clinics. We got the high blood pressure, high diabetes, the stroke, the cancer, the AIDS, the HIV. How does God love us more than anybody else? We're the most deprived people on earth. We don't have our own money. We don't have our own control, our own power, our own rules, our own laws, our own military, our own government. We're on the bottom. We've been oppressed and colonized and conquered. How does God love us? Read on.
Was not Esau Jacob's brother?
And this is how the Most High wants you to know that you're loved more than anybody else in the world.
And people don't have, I'm saying, the weight of that statement.
This is heavy.
It's a weighty statement.
This is heavy. He said what?
Was not Esau Jacob's brother?
Was not these two men twins?
Yep.
Did they not come out of the same mother? Did they not come out of the same father? Did they not have the same parents? They were twins in a womb. Jacob and Esau were twins. But the Lord said what?
Saith the Lord, yet I loved Jacob.
But who was his favorite out of those twins?
Yet I loved Jacob.
And who was not the favorite out of those two twins?
And I hated Esau.
The Bible says God has favorites. Are we to dispute the Bible because God said he got favorites?
Nah.
You got your favorite shoes.
Yeah.
You got your favorite food.
Yep.
You got your favorite color. You got your favorite shirt. You got your favorite sport.
Favorite restaurant.
You got your favorite restaurant. You got favorites. Why can't God have favorites? Yeah. Is God wrong because he got favorites? No. That's why Paul said, is there unrighteousness with God? No. He's allowed to have favorites too. And on the earth, although there's supposedly 6 billion people on earth, out of the 6 billion people on earth, there's a particular people on the earth that God loves more than everybody else. Paul is just reiterating what was already written. Now go back to Romans chapter 9, verse 13 and read that one more time.
Romans chapter 9 and verse 13 reads, as it is written, Jacob have I loved.
So where was it written at? It was written in Malachi. All Paul is doing is reiterating what was already written back in Malachi in the Old Testament. He's just reconfirming the fact that God loves the children of Israel more than anybody else. He said, as it is written, Jacob have I loved. Read on.
But Esau have I hated.
So now, does God love? Yes. Does God hate? Yes. He's not all love. He's not all hate. Yes, sir.
He said that I will show mercy unto whom I will show mercy to.
Yeah, that's in the same chapter.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. 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 If you read down in verse 18, yes, sir.
That statement is talking about the nations, too.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You know how the Most High feel about the nations that are not Israelites? Look, what is the known... how does the Most High attribute the feelings that he has towards the other nations that are not Israel? Go to Isaiah for me, chapter 40, and give me verse 15. And then somebody give me 1 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 54.
Yep.
Make it second Ezra chapter 6 verse 54. And then give me Isaiah chapter 40 verse 15. Let's read that.
God.
Now, let's get hold on. Let me get it. Read that.
Isaiah chapter 40, verse 15. Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket.
God says, the Bible says that the nations are a drop of what?
Of a bucket.
Now, think about it. If you're trying to fill up a bucket and you only put one drop in there, did you do any real damage?
No.
Did you fulfill the purpose of putting the element inside that bucket?
No.
Or if you got a full bucket and one drop fall out, did you really lose much?
No.
So what is God comparing the nations to? He says, read it again.
God. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 15. Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket.
So that's very insignificant, is what he's saying. When it comes to the children of Israel, that's where God bestows his love. When it comes to the other nations, they're there, they're on earth, but they're not as significant as the children of Israel. Read verse 1 for me real quick.
God. Isaiah 40, verse 1. Comfort ye my people.
He says, you're supposed to be reminding each other about how God feels about you versus the rest of the world. You're supposed to be, these words that he's saying when he's saying the nations are really not that significant. When you understand that you've been lynched, you've been beaten, clubbed, dismembered, pulled apart by horses, you've been tarred, you've been feathered, you've been boiled in oil, you've been buried alive, you've been fed to alligators, and you've been sold into slavery and your children, you start to not feel so good about yourself. You start to not, when you start looking at people that are lynched, and before they get lynched, they get disemboweled, they get their guts cut out, and they get castrated, and they get their feet cut off, and their limbs cut off, and their ears cut off, and their fingers cut off as an ornament and a necklace, as a keepsake, and they get pictures taken of them, and they get sent, those pictures get sent as postcards and memorials, and everybody's in the presence, doing it in the presence like a picnic. You start to not feel so good about yourself when you always see yourself and your people in a condition of depravity and in a condition of suffering. You start to not feel so good. But the comfortable words that he's telling the children of Israel is, listen, the nations are not that significant to me. Although you may be in a position of poverty, the nations are not that, they don't mean that much to me. You're supposed to be comforting each other with these words. These are supposed to be words of encouragement, that God loves you more than he loves anybody else in the world. Shouldn't that feel good when you see a blonde haired, blue eyed Jesus and on every household, in every statue, on every picture, in every church, in every,
all the angels,
and all the angels are blonde haired, blue eyed, and you see all the pictures in the pictorial Bible? Shouldn't it feel good? You ask yourself, well, where do I fit in?
Yeah.
Where do we fit in on this? Everybody got all the righteous ones are blonde hair, blue eyed. So, because the Most High knows the condition that the children of Israel would eventually be in, he's telling Isaiah to comfort them with these words. Make them feel good with these words, that I got more love for them more than anybody else in the world. Matter of fact, read on.
Come, comfort ye my people, saith your power.
Go ahead.
Speak ye comfortably
To who?
to Jerusalem.
He says to who?
To Jerusalem.
Go ahead.
And cry unto her that her warfare is accomplished.
The Most High is, we fulfilled a 400-year what? Prophecy. And it was a 400-year punishment. Because the Most High was angry at us. The Most High was so angry at us that he said, I'm going to remove you out of my sight. He was that angry at us. How do we know? Go to Deuteronomy 28 and 68 before we jump back to Isaiah. Get Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. Let me get that picture after the reading.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Most High.
Hold on, let me get it. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. Read this.
Ready?
Yep.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Now, Egypt means it's not only a land mass, but it has a meaning as well. The word Egypt comes from the Coptic word Mizraim. So the word Mizraim or Mizraim means to be shut in or to be restrained or to be in captivity. That's what the word Egypt actually means. It means captivity or to be restrained, to be under bondage. Go to Exodus chapter 20, verse 2 real quick. Exodus chapter 20, verse 2, and then we're going to come right back to Deuteronomy. Somebody read that. Yahweh, read that.
Exodus
you got
chapter
it, Karai?
20, verse 2.
You got it? Go ahead. Read that, and we're going to come back to Deuteronomy.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 2. I am the Lord, thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt.
So when the Most High is talking about Egypt, he'll refer to the landmass of Egypt. When God is talking about Egypt, the actual place. He says, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of what?
Of Egypt.
So when in Deuteronomy, when we read about the punishments for disobeying God's commandments, did he say he was going to put us back in the land of Egypt? No. Let's read now. So we're not talking about the land of Egypt. We're talking about the conditions of which Egypt means by definition. He says, I am the Lord, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. Read on.
Out of the house of bondage.
Egypt in the Bible is also known as the house of what?
Bondage.
Because the word Egypt means what?
Bondage.
Because the word Egypt means bondage. It means slavery. It means to be captive, be taken captive. It means to be put in restraints. It means to be restrained. So, as a punishment, God said for not keeping his commandments, verse 68. Now, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68.
Yeah, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again.
But is he talking about the land of Egypt? No. He's talking about what the word actually means, which is slavery or conditions. And this is how you know what he's talking about, because he says, I will bring you into Egypt again a second time.
So the same scenario.
Yes, just like we were taken in bondage in Egypt the first time, and we walked through the Red Sea on dry ground, and Moses was our leader. He was our conductor. And Moses brought us out of bondage. Well, the Most High said, well, I'm going to bring you back into Egypt again. But this time it's going to be different. Read on.
And the Lord said, and the Most High shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Stop. With what?
With ships.
How are we going to go into Egypt the second time?
With ships.
Walking?
With ships.
On foot?
With ships.
How do we get back in captivity?
With ships.
He said, well, what?
With ships.
Hey, you know what's so funny? What kind of ships was these? Are these Carnival cruise lines? Was these cruise ships?
No.
Was this all-you-can-eat buffets? Was this have dinner with the captain night? That's what I'm saying. Did this have the roller coaster and the swimming pool on deck? You know what I'm saying? What did the Most High say he was going to do a second time?
It wasn't the Mayflower.
No, it
Yeah,
wasn't.
it's just pilgrims over here.
And I wanted to add, just in case you weren't taught this in schools, I know a lot of times they're shutting down the aspect of this in teaching.
Especially in Florida.
In Texas too, they stop talking about it until you get to higher grades. Because they're trying to make you forget about it. But I looked it up right now. And I looked up when were people put into slavery on ships. All right, because from 1526 to 1867, some 12.5 million captured men, women, and children were put on ships in Africa and shipped out. That was the transatlantic slave trade or the sub-Saharan slave trade.
And you know what? Even when they got here, even when the Mayflower got here, they took some specimens back in slavery to Europe to show off the natives. So even the natives that were here got taken on ships and put into slavery.
And dragged to Europe.
And dragged to Europe and put on display that there's proof that there's other lands that hasn't been conquered yet. So the Most High said he was going to do this a second time. He said, I'm going to put you back in slavery again, But this time with what?
With ships.
Now, when you read about the ships, it said from
1526
to what 1867 or something like
it really
that.
goes on to 1900s.
Yeah,
It's not
because
continued.
if you look at the Clotilda, which is on display in Mobile, Alabama, that is they just found remnants of the last slave ship that arrived in America, where over 100 slaves were smuggled, like 125 slaves were smuggled in the middle of a night, and they were brought up the Mobile River, and then they brought them slaves from West Africa, and they still got video of the slaves.
Whoa.
That's how you know.
That's fresh out.
That's how you know. There's one old man named Cujo. He was on that ship as a little boy, and then they got video of Cujo cutting wood.
Come on,
So
man.
if you got video, that means it wasn't too long ago of Cujo, which was smuggled in under the cloak of darkness, and then the ship was burned in the Mobile River, and they just found the ship about 5 years ago, 10 years ago. They just found the ship.
Wow.
And they were trying to hide it.
Are you saying smuggled because slavery
Was abolished. Slavery was so-called abolished,
Oh.
but two men that was waging a bet that he could still bring some slaves over.
Come on.
Financed it. They found somebody to off a bet.
Wow.
This was off a bet. I bet you I can still get some slaves over here. And the bet transpired into actually a project and a plan, and they engineered and designed and financed the ship, fitted it out where they customized it where it could fit 100 slaves, and then went over there and got them and brought them back. So I guess somebody won and somebody lost the bet. That was off a bet. And that slave ship, that was one of the last slave ships to arrive, and they tried to burn the evidence. But right now, if you go to Mobile River, it's under 25 feet of mud, and through sonogram, you can actually see the ship still, the beams and everything, and the hold where they had the slaves captured, which was only a 20 by 20. It's like
Wow.
a 20. You got 100 and some people, 120 people in a 20 by 20 hold. They were mashed in. None of them died either. That's what's surprising. But the Most High said he was going to do it with ships. Now, when you got this kind of history, you need to hear some good news. You need to hear some good news. When you see what was done to the Native Americans here, which is the children of Gad, the so-called Mexicans, Issachar. When you see what was done to the Puerto Ricans, the tribe of Ephraim, Manasseh, the Cubans, when you see what's done to these individuals, they need some good news. That's why he said in Isaiah, speak comfortably to these people. Why? Let that go in verse 1 and 2. Jump back down to verse 15. You can let that go. You can let that go. I think it serves its purpose. Isaiah chapter 40. Now jump back down to 15. Because these are the comfortable words that the Most High wants us to hear, because we had a very tragic beginning in America. Yes, sir.
The Khazarians say the rail cars that they were on was the ships that they're talking about.
Come on, bro. No way.
I mean,
That's how they graft themselves in there.
I mean that's
Come on,
that
bro.
we ain't even gonna give it much thought, because it's phony baloney, man. It's bogus.
We had mad ships sinking in the ocean
Yeah.
full of slaves too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
100 million they said was lost in the sea.
Yeah.
So
100 million?
Yeah.
Out of count.
Yeah, not that number I said. That 12.5 was only the officially documented number of slaves. There was hundreds that got moved
and there's
over.
more. There's more that actually went to South America and Brazil
Yeah.
than actually came to America.
They sank ships around Cape Verde full of slaves
Yeah.
because they saw Edomites coming. So at that time, it was going into prohibition, or they were gonna they had a law where they were gonna stop selling slaves.
Oh,
Yeah,
Europe,
but that was late.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's later.
They was one of the last ones to actually relinquish the slave trade,
So they were still chained to the cargo holds, and they sank them.
while they still chained to the
Yeah,
bottom.
yeah.
And that's why they have those underwater statues with the slaves under the water,
Yeah.
still chained to the bottom of the sea.
Well, they got them in Cape Verde, almost an
And when you go to Puerto Rico, you got the slave castles, which were the ports that they brought them in from, which were dungeons. They brought them in the side of the dungeon, and they chained them to the wall straight off the ship, and they would hold them there until they wash them down with turpentine to get the fleas off, or bugs or whatever. They wipe them down with turpentine, and then they would put a butt plug on them made of wood, a wood cork in their butt to stop the diarrhea and the dysentery. And then they would rub them down in some cream and some ointment like an animal. And then they would brand them, and then they would sell them. You know what I'm saying? So it was tragic. But this is why the Most High said, I want you to hear some good news. That's why he said, speak comfortably to the children of Israel. Read on. That what? The nations are what?
God. Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket.
So when it comes to the children of Israel, he said, I love you. But the other nations, they're not that significant to me. That is good news when you had the kind of origin and beginning that we had in America since the arrival of colonial powers, European powers. We need some good news. Read.
God. And are counted as the small dust of the balance.
And he says the nations are counted as the small dust of a what?
Balance.
A balance is a scale. Do you blow the dust off the scale before you stand on it? Why not?
It's insignificant. Not gonna change the weight.
Is it really gonna do much? Man, I feel kind of heavy, so let me get this dust off. Is blowing the dust off the scale gonna make a difference before you stand on it?
No.
No. Well, that's how the Most High feels about the nations. The nations are insignificant. They're equivalent to a dust on a scale. It's there, but it doesn't matter. This is known amongst ancient writers, Old Testament writers, prophets, both in the Apocrypha and in the Bible. 2nd Ezra, real quick, chapter 6, start at verse 54 in the Apocrypha. Page 21 in the Red Book, if you got the Apocrypha, page 21. Because not only the prophet Isaiah speaks on this, but also it's very identical and similar to what the prophet Ezra said as well. 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 54. Let's read that.
2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 54.
Page 21.
Come.
Read that.
Mm-hmm. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all.
He says everybody comes from who?
Adam.
Everybody comes from Adam. Adam was the first man. Eve was the first woman. Everybody come from Adam. Read on.
And the people also.
But there's also people that are separated, that are exclusive, that means more to the Most High than just all the other descendants of Adam. Read on.
And the people also whom thou hast chosen.
There is a chosen people. God has a chosen people. But they also come. Read on.
All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sake.
It says, but the world was made for whose sake? For all the nations or for who?
The Israelites.
The chosen people. The world was made for the chosen people to inherit. Read on.
As for the other people.
He says, as for the other people, which is, they also came from Adam, but they're not the chosen. They're the other people. Read on.
Which also come of Adam.
Read on.
Thou hast said that they are nothing.
It says, God has always said that the other nations, not the chosen, they are what?
They are nothing.
What is the value numerically of nothing? Zero. The numerical value of nothing is zero. He said they are nothing. They are zero. Read on.
But be like unto spittle.
He says they be like unto what?
Spittle.
Now, what's the short version of spittle?
Spit.
The root word of spittle is spit. He says the nation. This is how God feels about the other nations. That seems very harsh. But when you look at the advantage that the Most High gave the other nations over us from our rebellion, it was due because of our rebellion. That He gave them the upper hand to be able to put us in captivity. He was able to put us in captivity under these nations that are historically known to be like spittle and to be like nothing. Now they're our masters. Yes, sir.
I was gonna say his point. You could, at least you could do something with manure.
No, hold on, bro. Read on.
Come. Says, but be like unto spittle.
Your timing is off.
Missing the punchline.
Yeah. He said, be like unto spittle. Read on.
And has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
It says, and He's always had the equivalent of the nations as a drop that falleth from a vessel. A vessel is a bucket, a vase, something that a container that holds something. He says the Most High has always had attributed the value of these other nations like a drop that falleth from a vessel. Read on.
And now, O Lord, behold these heathens.
He said these what?
These heathens.
That's the word you always heard your grandma say. You heathens.
Yeah.
But the word heathen means Gentiles or not the people of God. They are not the people of God. These are the Gentiles. The word heathen means Gentiles or non-Israelite people. That's what the word heathen means. It's not just a cool slang word that people use and, boy, you act like a heathen. It actually has a meaning. It means non-Israelite people. Read on.
Which have ever been reputed as nothing.
And they've always had the value of what?
Nothing.
In God's eyes. This may seem hard to swallow, but is God wrong for this? No. Read on.
Have begun to be lords over us.
And now the heathens are what?
Lords over us.
Now we answer to the who? The heathens. Who makes the laws today?
The heathens.
Whose money do we use?
The heathens.
Don't you know when you used in Rome, when you used a Roman coin, what you're doing when you use Roman currency or you use another nation's currency, you're acknowledging the sovereignty of those individuals in power. Because the way you acknowledge their sovereignty is because you accept their money with their face on it and their name on it as being lent to you to borrow, to use, to purchase your goods and services. So by you using their currency, you're acknowledging their sovereignty, that they're good masters because they're letting you borrow their money. You don't own their money. That's why their face is on their money. You're being lent the money. And when you use the money that they lend you that has their name and their face on it, which we don't think about this, you're acknowledging their sovereignty and you're acknowledging their power, and you're saying by using their currency that you're a good master because you're letting me borrow and use your currency in circulation. This mentality was known amongst the Romans. Here we are in America with George Washington face on it, who owned slaves. Thomas Jefferson face on it, who owned slaves.
Infamous for that.
Oh, he
He's
had
kind of infamous for that.
Oh, he had the white Jeffersons. He also had the black Jeffersons. The black Jeffersons came from a woman who he had. He customized a secret room, a private room, in his damn slave house, the master's house, the big house, the plantation home. He customized a secret room for one of his favorite black women slaves. And he had a private access. This is all written in history. He had a private access in a tunnel that he could go to have undivided, pleasure in a little secret room. And he had a secret little tunnel kitted out in the plantation house to get to that black woman, which he had children with. And that's why even today, those black Jeffersons are still trying to get some money from the white Jeffersons.
Yeah. Ain't finna happen.
Because he had some other kids too. But then it's been known in the writings that he had his way with the black slaves. But we get to use the Jefferson. What is he on, a 20? Mm-hmm. So we get to use the Jefferson, and every time we use that 20, we're saying he was a good master, knowing that he was a major portrayer and a strong supporter of slavery. He opposed setting slaves free. Yep. But we get to use this currency, and this is why Ezra is a prophet. They could see all this happening in the future. Yeah. They saw our condition now, and they're writing about it now. And that's why Ezra is saying what? Read that part again.
Tell them what you have. 2 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 57. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us.
Now you have to answer to who?
The heathens.
The heathens. They're now your masters. They write the Constitution. The Constitution says you're 3/5 of a man. You're not even a whole man. How the hell does you get a person to be 3/5 of a man? He's only a head. What, he's like a Mr. Potato Head or something?
Yeah.
How do you get 3/5 of a man? That don't even make sense.
They had that. They did it through some stupid.
It was based off their voting. Because if you had slaves, you had more voting authority. So they had to cut it by a third.
They had to cut your value down. Yeah, you couldn't equal a whole man. Because there was a time in America where there was more slaves than actual, Europeans.
Yeah.
And so they had to make sure that, those states that had, especially the southern states, which would have had more slaves, which would have had more voting power, you got to reduce that.
It's crazy.
To offset the Senate. So
but they don't do that when it comes to their counties. When it comes to actually putting federal dollars into these smaller counties, when you deal with the prison system, they actually count the people in prison as the numbers of the population of the county, so they can send government funds to that county to enrich the county.
Yep. But not count those individuals in the prison as an adequate, legal voter.
Yeah.
And give them voter rights
simultaneously.
So now we got to reduce your value as 3/5 of a man.
Yeah.
Well, what they don't understand is that to the Most High, they're 0% of a man. He says, how long? It says now they've begun to be our lords. Read on.
And to devour us.
And they devour us. They use our resources. You had a lot of inventions that were stolen from our people that never made it to, where we were given credit and received none of the residual resources and income from those ideas. Whether it be the cotton gin to a bunch of other things that we never reaped no benefits from.
Yep.
We never, whether it be the stoplights, all these things. There's intricate pieces to the first telephone, to the first cell phone, to the first computer. All these things were robbed. Everybody knows Bill Gates stole even from his own constituents. He stole Microsoft. He didn't create Microsoft. He stole it from another guy, bought it from him, and then it took off.
Elon Musk, the same guy.
Yeah.
Bought it.
Yeah, bought it from somebody else and took off with it and took the rights from it.
That home security system was invented by a sister.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but none of these things you're gonna get credit for. He says because the nation that you're under, they began to devour you. They'll use your brain power. They'll use your strength, your resources. Anything you bring to the table, they're going to swallow it and devour it and use it for their benefit. Read on.
But we thy people.
It said, but we thy people. Not like the Constitution, we the people.
No.
We thy people, talking about the children of Israel, are the Most High's people. Read on.
Whom thou hast called thy firstborn.
And when you go and read, when he calls, he said, this is my firstborn. That's
Israel is my son.
Israel is my son.
My firstborn.
That's is that Galatians? No, it's in the Old Testament. It's in even my firstborn. It's was that 3 and 14? When he said I'm married to you, Jeremiah 3 and 14. So
right here it says Exodus 4 and
22. Yeah.
Thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn.
He said, Israel is my firstborn. So your firstborn is always classified as what? The strength of you. They have your strength. They have your resemblances. These are the firstborn is who receives the majority of an inheritance. When you have an inheritance to pass down to children, say you got 4 children, the firstborn gets 2 parts of the inheritance. The other ones only get 1 part. The firstborn always gets the double portion of an inheritance.
That's natural.
That's because they were the first. That's one of the benefits of an inheritance, of being the firstborn. So the Most High said the children of Israel are his firstborn. Read on.
Come, thy only begotten and thy fervent lover.
And so when the Most High is saying that he only recognizes us as his children, not everybody of the world. You can hold hands and say we are the world, we are the children, but that doesn't mean that that's how the Most High feels. The song is good.
Sound good.
The song is nice. It's great. The song is awesome.
Uplifting.
It's uplifting. But it doesn't mean that that's how the Most High feels.
That's not biblical reality.
Read on.
Come, are given into their hands.
It says, we've been given into their hands because we broke the commandments of God. As a punishment, we had to live out a 400-year captivity. A 400-year belt whooping. Read on.
If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world?
How come we don't have Manhattan? How come we don't have Hollywood? How come we live in Watts and Compton and Cabrini Green? And every place we live in, there's always a catchy name like Ward. You live in this ward.
Yeah.
You live in these homes. There's always ward, homes, terraces, meadows,
Projects.
Oaks,
Calio project. Yeah.
Cottage Village.
Cottage, village.
Martin Luther.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
It's always a park.
Parks, yeah, parks. But you don't. Or Heights. You always hear Heights. You
Not
know,
Alamo Heights though. He ain't living in Alamo.
no.
Okay.
We ain't there, bro. So, but you got certain words that are red line where these are districts where you find the majority of our people. But he said the world was made for us. What Ezra is complaining about and what he's angry about is, Lord, we know that we're your favorite people. Then why are we on the bottom? Read on.
How long shall this endure?
And that's why he asked the question. How long do we have to be on the bottom? The prophet Ezra is asking the Most High this. We're supposed to be your firstborn. We're supposed to be your fervent lover. But these heathens, they have all the authority. They have the power. They have sovereignty. So, is that fair? It is fair because we broke the commandments of the Most High. Therefore, we had to get punished for 400 years. It's really not the nation's fault. It's our fault. Because we chose not to be obedient to the Heavenly Father. Now, not only does the prophet Ezra see this, Isaiah sees this also. Go back to Isaiah chapter 40 and read verse 16.
God. Isaiah chapter 40, verse 16.
Read verse 17. I want you to get 17. Get straight to the point because we still got to go back. You know,
Isaiah 40 and 17. All nations before him.
It said all nations before the Most High. Go ahead.
All nations before him are as nothing.
Remember verse 1 and 2. He says, speak these comfortable words to the children of Israel. This is what's supposed to make us feel good, not the fact that we could run fast, we could dunk a basketball from the free throw line, not that we could throw a 60-yard Hail Mary. That's not supposed to make us feel good, or we could run a 4.240. That's not what we're supposed to pride ourselves in.
Or that Deion Sanders can come through and make the team win from nothing.
Yeah, take a 1-11 team.
Yeah,
try to
turn it around.
Bro's feeling good about that. Like, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so, I do feel good about that.
That's kind of fun.
But that's not what we pride ourselves in. The fact that we got physical and mental prowess, but what we pride ourselves in is that the Most High loves us more than anybody on earth. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are His chosen people. Therefore, we had to fill out a punishment of 400 years due to the fact that we were unthankful, ungrateful, and we took for granted and despised His commandments. We didn't want to follow His commandments. We wanted to be like the other nations, which we're going to get into in a second. He says, read verse 17 one more time.
God, Isaiah 40 and 17. All nations before him are as nothing.
Read on.
And they are counted to him less than nothing.
So now, what Yeshaya was saying was that at least you can take some manure, which comes from cows and horses and cattle. You can take manure and you could turn that into some fertilizer. It has a value. Cow manure has a value. There's a value to it. You could take it, mix it with some coffee beans, some coffee grounds, some dirt, and you can make some coconut shells, and you can make some great soil out of that. He said, but the nations are less than what?
Less than nothing.
So he said they're less than value. They don't got no value. So these are the comfortable words that he said in verse 1 that you're supposed to be spreading to your people. God loves you more than anybody else, although our condition is really bad. Although we're on the bottom. Although they're the lords over us. We have to get permission to get married. We have to get permission to get a loan. We have to get permission to live in certain areas. You don't have freedoms. You have to get permission and licenses to have freedoms. Because we're not in our authority. We're not in our kingdom. Just like Christ told Pilate, this is not my kingdom. Christ told Pilate, if this was my kingdom, my servants would fight and not allow you to put your hands on me. I would not be taken by your guards. Now, go back to where we were in Genesis chapter 28, verse 10 and 11. All this is to come back. Where you at right there, Isaiah? You let it go. Genesis chapter 28, verse 10 and 11.
Genesis chapter 28, verse 10. And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went towards Haran. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of the place and put them for his pillows.
So we know that Jacob slept outside on rocks, and he used rocks as pillows. And we read in Josephus why Jacob chose to live outside than to dwell with any of the Canaanites. He said because he hated the Canaanites. Why did Jacob dislike the Canaanites? Jump down to verse 19 for me in Deuteronomy chapter 28.
Go, verse 19.
No, I'm sorry. Hold on. Genesis chapter 10, verse 19, because somebody was holding that. Yes. Yes. Yeah, so we're at Genesis chapter 10. Hold where we at in Genesis 28. Because somebody else had Genesis chapter 10. I want verse 19.
Genesis chapter 10 and verse 19. And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon.
So when you look at a map, which we don't have it up right now, but if you look at a map, we probably could use one from Sabbath class. If you look at a map, and you look at Tyre and Zidon, that's where ancient Phoenicia was. The Phoenicians were Canaanites. These were Hamitic peoples. So, if you can expand that. Now, if you can't, an old map, just an older map. Yeah, perfect. Right there. You can see it. Sidon, right here. Yep. Beirut. If you look online right now, you can see where Beirut is. South of Beirut, you have two major port cities, which were ancient Phoenician cities. Is Zidon and Tyre. These were Philistine territories. These were ancient Canaanites. He said the borders of the Canaan was what?
Was from Zidon. As thou comest to Gerar, unto Gaza.
Go ahead. Unto Gaza.
Gaza.
Where is the issue that's going on right now overseas? Is in Gaza. The Gaza Strip. So he says from Zidon, if you're able to look on the map online of the class, on the online class, you can see Zidon off the coastline all the way to Gaza. Gaza is right off the coast of Israel, right next to Israel on the coastline. That's ancient Sidonia. That's ancient Tyre. That's where the Phoenicians were. And also they ended up creating the Carthaginian Empire off the coast of North Africa. All right? So, he said that their borders were there. Where else?
Son, it says, as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah.
And what else cities were in Canaan?
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Sodom and Gomorrah was Canaanite cities.
Wow.
Now, do we need an explanation to know what was going down in Sodom and Gomorrah?
Everything under the sun.
Yeah. Do we need an explanation? If there's kids watching, I don't think.
Whatever's going on now was going on back in Sodom and Gomorrah.
Because this is where the word Sodom is where you get the word sodomy from.
Yeah.
You know, which we understand what that means for somebody to be sodomized. That's where the word comes from. It comes from a place. Because that's what was happening in that place. So this is why Jacob would rather sleep on rocks than to dwell with those people in the land, because who were the people in the land? They were Sodom and Gomorrah. And so what was going on in Sodom and Gomorrah, Jacob didn't want no part of that. That's why Jacob said, man, I will sleep outside under the stars, and I'll sleep on rocks before I dwell with these individuals. This is why I said he hated those individuals, because of the activity that was going on amongst those people. Leviticus chapter 18, verse 1. Read verse 20, Kariah.
Verse 20 says, these are the sons of Ham.
And all those are the sons of Ham. The Canaanites are the sons of Ham. The Phoenicians are the sons of Ham. The Philistines are the sons of Ham. Sodom and Gomorrah, those inhabitants of Sodom and Gomorrah are the sons of Ham.
And this is the same one that their father, when he was drunk
Yep.
from the wine, was looking at his father and mocking him.
And mocking his father.
Wasn't that
naked?
Yeah.
Yes.
He was a Hamite. When he was mocking his father and looking upon his father's nakedness.
He was Noah's grandson.
Yeah. He was a Hamite.
He was a Hamite. He was one of Noah's grandsons.
Yeah.
So let's go to Leviticus chapter 18, verse 1. Let's read that.
Leviticus chapter 18 and verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel.
Who's talking to who?
Moses to the children of Israel.
The Most High told Moses to speak to the children of Israel. So this is a three-way conversation. The Most High is telling Moses, and Moses is transferring this information to the children of Israel. That's all who's in this conversation. Read on.
Verse 2. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your power.
So read what you see.
I am the Lord your God.
So he said, I am the Lord your God. So who was talking to who?
Most High to Moses.
It was the Most High talking to Moses, and he told Moses to tell the children of Israel, I am the Lord your God. God is exclusive in knowing who he's the God of and the power of. We say power because that's what the word Elohim means, power. He said, I am the Lord your power. So, read on.
After the doings of the land of Egypt.
Egypt was one of the sons of Ham. He comes out of Ham, out of Mizraim. He descends from the children of Ham. He says, listen, I do not want y'all to do, the children of Israel, to duplicate the actions of the Hamites. Read on.
Wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do.
When you were in Egypt, and you were in Leviticus 18, he said, when you were in Egypt, I didn't want you duplicating what you see in Egypt. Read on.
And after the doings of the land of Canaan.
And it says, and also when I give you the land of Canaan, because the children of Israel, through Joshua, made war with the Canaanites, and they overthrew the Canaanites. He said, when you do conquer the land of Canaan, he says, I don't want you to do after their doings. The Canaanites have a particular behavior that's unacceptable to the Most High. Read on.
Whether I bring you, shall ye not do.
He says, when I bring you in that land of Canaan, you shall not do it. Read on.
Neither shall you walk in their ordinances.
Neither shall you follow their laws. Their laws are corrupted. Their laws will pollute you. So let's find out what some of these laws are. Read on.
Come on, verse 4. Leviticus chapter 18, verse 4.
Jump down to verse 6.
Verse 6. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him.
So, read on.
To uncover their nakedness.
To uncover what?
Here we go again.
Uncover their nakedness.
So, the nations believe in what?
Nakedness.
No.
Incest.
Incest. You don't, brothers are not supposed to be dealing with their sisters. Sisters ain't supposed to be dealing with their brothers.
It's not acceptable.
That's not acceptable, bro. That's why the Most High said, listen, when I bring you to this land, do not do what you see them do. I don't want you doing nothing that they do.
It's a fair request, bro.
Now, they have it, it's legal amongst them that their sisters can deal with their brothers and uncover their nakedness. You do that in our houses, you need your butt whooped 10 times over. You need lashes on your back. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not the actions that the Most High wants the children of Israel to partake in. The nations do those things. In particular, the Canaanites and the Egyptians, they believe in incest. The Romans believed in incest. The Greeks believed in incest.
And you know this because when you look at Caesar Borgia, what was his relationships built off of?
Who is Caesar Borgia?
Caesar Borgia is the image of Christ that we see through all the churches, all the houses. That man was the son of a pope.
When did that image become popular?
1492.
1492?
It was in the 1500s.
Yes, it's after the Renaissance.
It's during the Renaissance period.
Yeah.
It was part of the Renaissance period. Caesar Borgia Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci were commissioned to rewrite the images of biblical patriarchs. Yep. They were paid by Pope Alexander VI of Rome, a Roman pope. He paid famous painters to paint Christ in a white image. That blonde hair, blue-eyed image that's in your grandmother's house, next to Martin Luther King and Malcolm X,
Yep.
and John F. Kennedy, that's holding the lamb, that got the sun ray around his head. That image is a replica of the original paintings of Leonardo da Vinci. He was also commissioned and paid to paint the Last Supper. So when you got all them blonde-haired, blue-eyed individuals that's at the Last Supper eating at the table,
Yep.
and you got the one guy in the middle, that one guy in the middle that has the ray around his head that's in the center of the buffet of the table, the Last Supper image, that is Caesar Borgia.
Mm-hmm.
The Borgias is a corrupt Italian family that killed, manipulated, and poisoned their way to the throne of Europe and Italy. So when we say Caesar Borgia, we're talking about that false image that was paid for and painted by Alexander VI of Rome. It was a pope who wanted his son to pose for that image because they said that, you got it right there?
I'll read it right here.
Okay, you got it.
Between 1502 and 1503, so Salakia, he employed Leonardo da Vinci as the military architect and engineer, in whom him and Leonardo da Vinci became intimate instantaneously. They were lovers. To express his love towards Caesar, Leonardo painted many pictures of him. Caesar's father, Rodrigo Borgia, who later became Pope Alexander IV, the sixth, under the authority of the Catholic Church elite, had his son's picture put up as Jesus Christ in the Western world.
So the image of Jesus Christ that we see today, that big statue that's standing over Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Yeah, it's like this.
That big, he's out this way.
Yeah.
That big old statue that's in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Oh, is it Rio de Janeiro?
Yeah.
Rio de Janeiro. That's actually just as of recently became known as one of the 7 wonders of the world. They just classified that as
crazy.
It's now in the 7 wonders of the world.
It's a wonder now.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it stands over the poor, because where it's facing is all the favelas.
It's a curse.
It's the hope out.
The British, I mean the Brazilian ghettos is the favelas. So it's overseeing all the ghetto, and it's got this big old But who is that image of? That's Caesar Borgia, who sat and was painted by Leonardo da Vinci to be the image of Christ. That's what the word Renaissance means. The word Renaissance means the rebirth. That's a French word. That means the rebirth. It was the rebirth of the white man being in power. And that's why all the biblical figures became white. When you look at the Ethiopian Bibles, the Coptic Bibles, that was in one of the churches that was said to be founded by St. Mark, one of the disciples, you see all the images of the disciples as brown people. When you go to the Russian icons and the Eastern Orthodox Church, they still had dark figures and dark faces, people of color in biblical narratives. But it wasn't until the 1500s did you have the European want to place himself in the Bible by images and portraits. And that time frame has a term and a title. It's called iconoclasm.
Yep.
Get the definition real quick.
I
Iconoclasm.
wanted to get a verse on that as well. Just
You can get that verse too. Get the definition of iconoclasm or iconoclasm. 1828. Or just Webster's, either one. And that was when they wanted to resurface themselves as being biblical figures. So that was paid for and sponsored by the popes, by the Catholic Church.
Is that term whitewashing?
That's exactly what it means. You got the definition?
Iconoclasm.
You got it? Read it.
Iconoclasm. It says the rejection or destruction of religious images.
It says the what?
It says destruction or religious images as heretical. The doctrine of iconoclast. The action of attacking or assertively rejecting cherished beliefs and institutions or established values and practices.
So this is why you had Napoleon go into Egypt and take his cannons and point those cannons at that wide nose on the Sphinx. That's why Napoleon blew the nose off the Sphinx, because them lips and that nose that's been sitting on the earth for a long time, that image was too black. So he specifically targeted the nose and the lips to blow that off with his cannonballs.
So you're saying that Napoleon was a white supremacist?
Oh yeah, Napoleon said himself that he wants to be esteemed and deified as a Roman Caesar. He said he wanted to be equivalent to Caesar Augustus,
Crazy.
Julius Caesar. He said he wanted to be admired and go down in history just as the Roman Caesars were. So he admitted that he was trying to resurrect the Roman Empire. He said out of his own mouth, I will resurrect the Roman Empire. So the rebirth or the Renaissance is the re-emergence of white people being in power. That's why it's called the Renaissance period. And during that period, they did what? You got the scripture?
Oh, Con, Wisdom of Solomon 14 and verse 15. It's a monster verse, bro. Just highlighting some. Yeah, 15 and verse 14 and verse 15.
What page you got on the red book, on the Apocrypha? Page 66 in the Apocrypha, in the red book.
Con, now, Caesar Borgia died in 1507. The painting of Caesar Borgia as Christ was in 1515. Right? And that's important information to know, because this was prophesied in the Bible. This is Solomon. This is thousands of years before he was actually painted and deified. So read that real quick.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
It says, for a father afflicted with untimely mourning.
So the father, the Pope, Alexander, because he was afflicted and grieved of his son dying. Caesar Borgia died at 31 years old.
Yeah.
He died really early. So the affliction caused the father to make some actions and to deify and commemorate his son forever. Read.
When he hath made an image of his child soon taken away, now honored him as a god.
So what was Caesar Borgia after he died?
A god.
They made him a god. They made him the image of hope. They made him your new savior. That big statue in Brazil. And all houses we go, when we make all these moves out, you see a bunch of images of this white homosexual and ancestral man. Because he was also dealing with his sister.
And his sister was also painted and paid for by Leonardo da Vinci, or Pope Alexander VI of Rome, paid Leonardo da Vinci to paint Lucretia Borgia, which is Caesar Borgia's sister, to be Mary. So when you see Mary, the Mother Mary, when you see the pictures of her, that's actually Caesar Borgia's sister.
That's crazy, yeah.
Which he had a relationship with.
God.
Because the popes, the Italians, they believe in these things.
The Pope dealt with her too.
Yeah.
Their father dealt with her too.
You got to read. You got to get the book called The Borgias.
The Netflix series is crazy.
I've never seen the Netflix.
And the Netflix series is very. They paint the picture out.
Well,
Let you know what's up.
It's only 400 years ago.
It's recent now.
What's the name of
The Borgias, huh? Yeah, it's in there.
Wow.
It's crazy, huh?
It gives you the details of how corrupt this family was.
Bro.
Yes, sir.
You said that when they talk about Virgin Mary, that's really talking about his sister.
No, I'm talking about the images of Mary.
The pictures.
The pictures that are painted of Mary, beginning from the 1500s, from the Renaissance period, are pictures of Caesar Borgia's sister, Lucretia Borgia.
It's crazy, huh?
That's who it is. When people are praying, they got it on candles, and they got the rosary bead around Mary, and they got candles, lighting candlelight visuals to Mary. That's Lucretia Borgia. That's the image of Lucretia Borgia. That big candle on Guadalupe Street, that 15-foot candle, the mother of Guadalupe.
Yeah.
But yes, sir.
No, I was just saying. When did they switch it to call it marriage? That's not really the name of
They're using an image. For instance, the Most High didn't give us an image of Christ, right? You read about that in Deuteronomy 4. They didn't want an image. He didn't want an image because we knew it would deify, whether it be a man, a creeping thing, a woman, astrology. That an image wasn't for us to follow. But Esau and the nations always resemble their gods with imagery. And at this point, we're going to find out why imagery was so important. It was important for the Pope, the one in charge, to deify his son, to deify his daughter, but also the one who was having that inordinate relationship with him, which was Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci. He also wanted to put that image out there to commemorate his love as well. Because again, they had that relationship. That's how they was operating.
And we got to remember, the topic we're dealing with is that Israel is not supposed to be like the Canaanites.
Exactly.
The Canaanites are nations. We're not supposed to follow the nations. But we bow down to these images, and by us bowing down to these false images, this is how we follow the nations.
Huh.
So they paint Christ as what? As a white man, but that's against the scriptures.
Yep.
They paint his mother as a white woman. That's against the scriptures. But Israel follows these things because they follow nations. They follow nations against the scriptures.
Read on. And that, verse 15?
Solomon chapter 14, verse 15. About that?
Yeah, well, he going ahead. He go 21, bro.
It says, his child soon taken away, now honored him as a god, which was then a dead man, and delivered to those that were under him ceremonies and sacrifices.
So when he died, Pope Alexander made his son Caesar Borgia the new Christ and set him up on a pedestal for everybody else to follow. Read on.
Thus, in process of time, an ungodly custom.
Now understand, this process of time. Eventually, through enough iconoclasm, through enough brainwash, through enough influence, power, whitewashing, this became the new symbol of hope for everybody. When the Spaniards came over, this is the image that they brought over. When the British came over, this is the image that they brought over.
When the Pilgrims came over.
When the Pilgrims came over, this is the image that they brought over.
I gotta say one thing too. And it's no different than when you deal with dogs. The domestication of animals. They get a wolf. The wolf has a pack. The weakest wolf, they do what? Now they don't cast them out. They use that, the weakest genetically the weakest animal. They use that as a breeding focus, and they breed a new generation based off the weaker genetics of the weakest pup of the wolves. And you get so many generations until you get a regular dog. So they're watering down genetics. They do this physically. That's how you break down and basically domesticate a wild animal.
Yep.
You got to domesticate a wild animal by breaking down the genetic pool. So what does that mean? We're also domesticated. How you know that? Willie Lynch. How to make a slave. What they do?
Yep.
They took the strongest male slave and they put it in front of the woman
and broke them.
Tarred them, feathered them, set them on fire, split them in 4 directions, and from that point did it in front of the child. And then the mother from that point put that fear into the child. And that child over time had a what? Child. And he kept pushing that element of fear down the generation until you get a weaker, more dilapidated generation.
Because in the process of breaking a slave, you break the male slave to teach the son you got to be submissive. The mother not just the son, you can't be rebellious. You be physically strong, but lock your mind as your master. But in the process, you teach your daughter you can't trust a man because he's not going to be there. He's going to get taken away. Something's going to happen. So now you build this strong, independent black woman who can't trust a man, and then 400 years later, they don't want a man.
And then not only that, you separate them by skin colors.
Wow.
You separate them by high yellow, by dark skin, and then now you playing games with their mind. Now I think because I got lighter skin, I'm better than you, and so now you create this internal strife based off classism and based off skin tone, which you now have this house slave versus the field Negro division. You know, well, we're lighter skinned, so we get to be close to the master.
And they even divide them.
Yeah, you're darker, so you one of them field Negroes.
Yep.
You need to be out there in that field. Yep. you can't come in the big house.
Exactly.
You can't sip tea with us. You know what I'm saying? But they know Willie Lynch will tell you the strategic plan that he put together, and he came and taught other slave households on how to manage and divide their slaves. So that you can do, as a slave master, you can do less work. They'll keep themselves in order.
Yep.
And he said, and if you keep my plan, he says you'll have a plan that will not be broken for at least 300 years. He said my plan is fail-proof for at least 300 years. If you haven't read it yet, go read the Diaries of Willie Lynch. It's only like $5 on Amazon, dirt cheap. But you get, there's an extended version too. A lot of times they sell the short one. Get the full length one because it shows you his entire speech written down and chronicled of how you divide these individuals amongst each other to keep themselves subjective. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and he said if you do these things 300 years, but wasn't that like connected to almost
It was
100 years of already slavery going on?
Yeah,
which would add up to 400.
Yeah, well, his estimation, he said it would be fail-proof for at least 300 years, and he was pretty much right on.
Right.
Because in about 400 years after he said that, and he wrote those diaries, those chronicles, or he said that speech that was written down, it was when we stopped dividing each other by color, and we started looking at, man, we're in the same condition that as my brother is. You know what I'm saying? Then we start instituting a brotherly love for each other. You know what I'm saying? There was brown pride. There was black power. There was American Indian movement. We started starting to come together in the 60s and 70s.
Right.
And then they had to break that back down with the crack.
Yep.
In the 80s, we can't have these people come together. So that crack cocaine was a government-sponsored drug to infiltrate black and Hispanic households because they were having too much of a union. The job rates, the education system was great amongst our people. We had our own banks. We had our own stores. So we were actually doing well economically by sticking together. Even when you see a lot of these, when say, for example, when America does these, when they isolate a country by financial means, they put these, what do you call it? Trade embargoes and these sanctions on other nations. Yeah, these sanctions backfired. They backfire because you tell a country, well, we're not going to let you import or export. So the people become ingenuitive and creative, and they start to build their own resources. Well, that started happening with us as a people in America. We started leaning on each other for survival. This is back when you could have a kid at your house, and your parents could whoop my child, and my parents would whoop your child.
Right.
This was a time when you didn't have to lock the door, because you already knew if somebody was at your house, your neighbor would come outside and say, "Hey, what are you doing? Who are you, and what do you need from that house?" We was looking out for each other. This is when you could go to your neighbor's house and stay there until your parents came home from school, or your neighbors picked you up from school. We started becoming interdependent, so they had to break that down through crack cocaine first, and then right after the crack era, they came in with the gang era. The gang era did to the younger generation what crack did to that 80s generation.
And then that gangster rap, tore
No, that was part of the plan too. The gang era was splitting us through the music, dividing us through sets and streets and neighborhoods and communities. Even though we ate the same food, even though we played the same sports, even though we wore the same clothes, but they had to come in and institute this division. But Willie Lynch did that in the 1700s. But you want to finish that?
Yeah,
right
I want to
there?
finish this. Yeah, go back to verse 16, because again, we're talking about what image were we forced to serve? What image became the new standard that wasn't originally there, and nor was lawful? Read.
Wisdom of Solomon 14, verse 16. Thus, in process of time, an ungodly custom, growing strong, was kept as a law.
Now, if you say Christ is black, you're the weirdo. You're anti-Semitic. If you say Christ or all the disciples, the apostles, were dark-skinned people, Moses, David, Solomon were dark-skinned people, you're the oddball. Because my image doesn't match up with what you're telling me right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're showing the scripture.
Oh, they'll say, what does it matter?
What does color matter? or they'll say, I don't believe Christ is black, but I know he was from the Middle East, so he might be a little tan.
He's olive.
He's olive tone. He's caramel. But he's definitely not black. He's not like your skin color, but he's not maybe as light as me. So he's somewhere, in the middle.
Yeah.
But they'll try to change and alter the image as much as possible because it's a psychological thing. Because the closer he looks like me, the better I feel about myself. But how about the reverse? The closer Christ is like us, the better we feel about ourselves. That's why it's important to teach the truth of who we are, what we look like in the scriptures.
According to the scriptures.
According to the scriptures, instead of letting this falsified idol be the standard of excellency that Christ is. Read on.
It says, and graven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings.
This was made as a law. Read.
Whom men could not honor in presence, because they dwelt far off. They took the counterfeit of his visage from far, and made an express image of a king whom they honored.
So there's the original idol, the original the creation that is in Italy. Then there's all these little other idols and pictures that everybody has in their own house.
Or the 16th chapel.
Yep.
The 16th chapel where you got the hand of God and Adam. God is touching Adam's hand.
Oh yeah.
And you got the creation. You got the creation picture. Where you got this white God finger touching this white man's finger. And they both laid out like this. And you look.
They got no clothes. What's going on with this, bro?
And you just
His neck is
Come on, bro.
You got the finger of God touching Adam, and Adam's fingers touching God, and that's supposed to be the creation story.
That's
and
crazy.
You got that up in the Vatican. You're not allowed to take pictures of it though.
Yeah.
But now you got these images that are worshipped, and these are people spend millions of dollars to come visit and say I was there.
Man.
I visited the chapel. I got pictures. I snuck pictures. I was in the place where the famous image of the finger of God is touching Adam. You know what I'm saying? But this is the origin of the Renaissance period. Go ahead.
Read on.
It says, to the end that by this, their forwardness, they might flatter him that was absent, as if he were present.
So the purpose of Caesar Borgia being created and deified was to give honor to him forever. Alexander wanted his son to always be in remembrance. So we're following this sodomite, this ancestral man as a god forever. It's been like this for hundreds of years. And our people will believe this to the day they go to the grave. Because this is what their mama told them. This is what their parents told them. And their parents' parents told them. They don't want to read the words. The words say a complete opposite story. Because it was tradition. I got to keep my traditions. But going back in the scriptures and being different and being separate from the nations, we have to follow our traditions, our customs that is taught to us in the scriptures that no other nation was given. Read on.
Verse 18. Also, the singular diligence of the artificer did help to set forward the ignorant to more superstition.
Now, what this lets you know is this was a plot from the beginning. When Leonardo da Vinci was commissioned to do this, it was a plot. The diligence means the extra effort it took to put this image out here. The extra crafting and detail it took to put this image out here was plotted. Read on. For what reason? Read.
It says, for he, pre-adventure, willing to please one in authority, forced all his skill to make the resemblance of the best fashion.
That man put his spirit into his image.
Yep. That Last Supper picture, people love that picture.
Oh,
everybody got in their kitchen because that's what they want to. They want to remember that Last Supper. All Christ was getting that night he was betrayed. All the disciples were together eating dinner together.
Brother, come on.
And everybody was together, and that was the last time Christ had supper. So everybody wants that picture above their table in their dining room. And they got the wrong image up there. But they're pushing this narrative because this was done during the Renaissance era.
And you know it works because when you read certain scriptures, when you read about certain people, what image comes to your head when you're thinking about these people? The one you've seen your entire life. When you're first in the truth and you're reading about Christ,
or when you're praying,
that image is popping in your head.
That image is important.
That's scary. Come on, bro. That's scary.
Because you know what? They see your grandma said that's Jesus on the wall. Grandma, who was that? That's Jesus. So now when you praying and you closing your eyes and cusping your hands, and you got that blonde-haired Caesar Borgia image in your mind.
Man.
You don't have the Revelation chapter 1, verse 13 and 15 through 15 image in your mind.
Nope.
You don't have the Daniel chapter 10, verse 5 and 6 image in your mind.
Nope.
You got Caesar Borgia in your mind when you sending prayers up to the Most High in Christ.
It's crazy.
And that's scary.
Kinda.
And that's brainwashing. Because that doesn't match the Bible. But finish on.
Yeah, I want to finish 21. Read.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 20. It says, and so the multitude, allured by the grace of the word, took him now for a god, which a little before was but honored as a man.
Yep. Read.
And this was an occasion to deceive the world.
So what was the purpose of having this falsified deity, this falsified Christ, to be put out there? Read.
To deceive the world.
What was the? You know what happens when you read in Psalms 83? The whole purpose and goal of the nations from the beginning of time was to make Israel forget who they were. So if I tell you Christ is a white man, when you see the Jews of current day living in Israel, who do you believe are the true Israelites in the Bible?
You think them?
You think it's them. So now even Christians feel bad about what's going on in Judah because they use that guilt. Well, you know, your God.
Pray for the peace of Israel.
Pray for Israel because your God was Israel. He was a Jew.
My God was a Jewish carpenter. They love to say that.
Oh my goodness.
This guy had blonde hair, blue eyes, was a carpenter. Like Bob the Builder.
This is the greatest deception of the entire world. I'm gonna make you believe entirely different people the entirely different people came your God. The heathens is where your God came from. But that's not true.
And this is why the Most High is angry with us when we follow these other nations, because they'll take anything and deify it to be a resemblance of Christ. Even when you see a bumper sticker or you see somebody's car on a truck and they got these little fish, and they got a fish following a smaller fish, and a smaller fish behind the other fish, and it's supposed to be our family following Christ. But Christ is not in the image of a fish, because our people will use anything to try to immortalize and fashion that to be Christ. Good?
Yeah, I want to finish that real quick.
Yeah, finish that. Verse 21.
Verse 21. It says, and this was an occasion to deceive the world, for men serving either calamity or tyranny did ascribe unto stones and stocks, and the incommunicable.
Nope, it's stones and stocks, the incommunicable name. You know what? The Most High is not giving that name power. First off, our God, our power, his name is not Jesus Christ. His name is Yahweh Shai. There was no J in Hebrew. There was no J in our language, in our alphabet. So the Most High.
That was Pope Gregory in the 1600s that was playing with the I. He was playing with the letter I. And he decided to take the I and put a hook on the bottom.
Yeah.
It was like Isis, right? That's what it was in Greek.
Yeah, it was I don't know. It's supposed to be like ish in Greek. Some people say it translates to Zeus.
Yeah, of course.
It translates
of course,
to
you're
Zeus.
gonna throw
So
Zeus in there.
that's what they say. It translates to Zeus. But he was playing with the I. He put a hook on the bottom and called it a J.
Crazy.
But it's never been a J in Hebrew. So that's how you know his name is not Jesus. That's not his name.
God. And I just wanted to put that out there. Jump to verse 27 just to finish it up real quick.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 27. It says, for the worshiping of idols, not to be named.
Again, we're not giving this person, this ideology, any power. That's why we don't serve the white Jesus. That's why we're adamant on explaining who our people are and what we look like. Read on.
It says, not to be named is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil.
And this is why we're going back to our truth. The Most High says, we have to serve God in spirit and in truth. The spirit is we serve Him in our actions, but the truth is revealing all things that is hidden in the scriptures. That we've been taught a contrary message, or we've been falsified to believe.
And that's real important on that verse. He's telling you how powerful idolatry is. He said idolatry is the beginning, the what?
Cause?
It says, for idols, not to be named.
No, it said for the worshiping of idols, which is idolatry. Read on.
Not to be named is the beginning.
It's the root cause. And what is the beginning, the origin, what else?
The cause.
And the reason, go ahead.
And the end.
And why the Most High will do what?
Of all evil.
Why the Most High would destroy us, because idolatry has been ingrained in people across the globe for years. People will worship anything. Yeah. They'll worship candles. They'll worship colors. They'll worship stones. Yeah. They'll worship crystals. They'll worship music.
Stars.
They'll worship the stars. They'll worship themselves. They'll worship whatever. They'll worship anything. People will take beads and worship beads. Yep. People will take a rabbit's foot and say, "Man, that's my lucky rabbit's foot." People will take a picture. They'll take a picture and put it in the Bible. You You know what I'm saying? They'll use images to symbolize and recognize themselves, and through that image they'll attribute their pain, their losses, their suffering. Now I got praying hands on my back.
Yep.
I got rosary beads tatted on my neck. What is that supposed to mean? When you actually look at the origin of rosary beads, that's not in the Bible. Rosary beads are not in the Bible. Rosary beads, which the Catholics utilize, is actually an ancient Indian custom and East Asian custom, where each bead you're supposed to say a prayer for a god when you touch each bead.
It's crazy.
That's the origin of rosary beads. Yes, there's a prayer.
Multiple.
There's a prayer for each. There's a prayer that you're supposed to say to a god for each bead when you touch each bead. That's the origin of rosary beads. But our people don't understand this because they've been given idolatry, and he's showing you how powerful idolatry is amongst our people. That's why they have to feed us an image, and a white one at that.
Yeah.
So when the Most High is telling, yes, sir.
Now I was gonna say, my Puerto Rican side of the family actually do that. You know what I'm saying? My aunt, I remember I was a child. I still remember that we was in the living room, and it was a long process of it. She was saying it in Spanish, and she kept on doing it, bro, playing each beat out, spraying some weird water, something on our forehead and everything. I'm just young, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what the hell was going on, but she was doing that, like each play, but it was in there for like 2-3 hours, right?
That's dedication.
Yeah, but you know that's you know what she was doing. She was probably doing a cleansing. She was probably thinking that she trying to clean you.
That's crazy. Yeah.
But you know that's idolatry. Our people hold on to that. You know what I'm saying? But this is the cause of all of our issues with the Most High, and this is why the Most High, as He was telling our people, do not follow them damn Canaanites.
Yeah.
Do not repeat and duplicate the actions of the Canaanites. Back to Leviticus chapter 18. Verse 1 again. No. We was in
We were in 6.
Genesis 10. No, we already did Genesis. Yeah, I want Leviticus 18 and verse 6 already.
Yeah, we were at
6. Verse 6. We jumped down. Verse 6. Read that.
From the top. Leviticus chapter 18, verse 6 from the top. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him, to uncover their nakedness.
Now, who does this? Who does these things? Read verse 3.
Verse 3. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do.
Don't repeat what they do. Read on.
And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, ye shall not do.
He said, because what do? They do what? Verse 6.
Verse 6. None of you shall approach to any that is near of kin to him, to uncover their nakedness.
What else they do? Jump down to verse 22.
Verse 22. Thou shalt not lie with mankind, as with womankind.
What else do the Canaanites believe in?
Lie with mankind, as with womankind.
What are they doing in Sodom and Gomorrah?
Lie with mankind, as with womankind.
You're not supposed to be laying down with a man as like you lay down with a woman. This is what the nations believe in.
Yep.
This is lawful for them. That's why it's legal today. Because the nations have always believed in things that were considered unjust and unrighteous in the eyes of the Most High, that He classified as an abomination. Read on.
It is abomination.
It is what?
Abomination.
It is a filthy, wicked act. That's what abomination means. So regardless of what laws pass, regardless of what they feed you in popular culture, pop culture, and tell you that that's legal, that's nothing wrong with it, it's always been an abomination in the eyes of the Most High, because that's what the nations believe in. That's not what we're supposed to be believing in. He said it's an abomination. That's a filthy, wicked act.
Yeah.
Read on.
Verse 23. Neither shalt thou lie with any beast.
And neither shall you be laying down and playing with your dog. Like some nations do.
Yeah.
Or getting behind your horse or your sheep.
Khazars,
like some farmers do. Read on.
Neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile the south therewith. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down their truth.
Just like a woman that lay down with donkeys or lay down with horses.
The new one is dolphins. Though. I don't know if you heard about that. They're marrying dolphins. Though. This is real.
I don't even know what to say about
It said, I saw like 2 different articles saying the same thing.
Now, maybe young dolph, but not like a real dolphin.
Probably better off with the
Dolphins is
You
crazy.
talking about a real dolphin, man.
Yeah. A man was killed because he laid down with a horse. I'm not going to explain.
Wow.
A horse.
Well, I'm pretty sure his organs got torn.
Well, that's the point. That's a couple feet. No, this is recent time. This is like the last 20 years. Someone got killed.
But you know, even if he lived, the Most High classifies that as an abomination.
Kind of.
He got the just punishment that was due, but even if he survived, that action is abominable. He said, but this is what the nations believe in. They believe in this kind of behavior. The Most High said, man, the children of Israel, I don't want you doing what they do. This is why he told Jacob, and Isaac told Jacob, do not marry no woman from Canaan. Because this is what they do. Finish that?
Says it is confusion.
He said it's what?
It is confusion.
And laying down with animals is what?
Confusion.
Man laying with man is what?
Confusion.
Woman laying with woman is what?
Confusion.
It's confusion, man. You taking, you're distorting the purpose of what nature created it for. You're misappropriating the elements.
The creation.
Romans 1:26, real quick. And then we'll hold that. Read Romans 1:26. We're gonna read down just real quick.
Ready?
Yep.
Romans chapter 1, verse 26 reads, for this cause the Most High gave them up.
So he said, for what cause? He said, for this cause the Most High gave them up. For what?
Unto vile affection.
Why? Because they did what? Read verse 25.
Verse 25. Who changed the truth of the Most High into a lie.
All the changing of the biblical patriarchs, all the historical images that are in the Bible, the truth of what they look like, what Christ looked like. He said these nations changed all this into a what?
Into a lie.
Into a lie, man. Now Christ got blonde hair and blue eyes. And that's not what it says in Revelation. It's not what it says in Daniel chapter 10. Read on.
And worship and serve the creature more than the creator.
So they love the pleasure of the bodies more than the one that created the body. This is why the Greeks worship Adonis. Adonis is the physical specimen of a man. Is that people worship bodies.
The Pope.
The Pope. People faint when the Pope come by.
It's crazy.
He has to ride in a damn bulletproof golf cart because they just throw themselves at the Pope as if he can heal miracles or make miracles or heal people. Read on.
Who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause the Most High gave them up unto vile affection.
Because they rather serve idolatry. The Most High said, since you rather serve idolatry and you rather serve the creature more than the creator, you got more honor for the actual man who's polluted than for the Most High who created the man. You give more honor and credence to what man says is lawful than what I say is lawful. He says, therefore, I'll let you believe a lie. I'll let you live a lie thinking that man can be with man, lie with man, and a woman can lie with woman, and that's okay. He said, I'll give you up to that thought process since you don't believe in me anyway. Then I'll let you believe that thought process is correct. And that the Most High is with that when he's not. Read on.
Come, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature.
So now, a woman's womb is for what purpose?
To give birth.
To copulate seed. To copulate seed so that she can to promote procreation. But a woman will say, I got pro-choice.
Yeah.
I can do what I want to do with my body. And if I want to add something to it, if I want to take hormone pills to stop the ability to for a woman to what it's called, ovulate. I want to be able to cut out my ability to ovulate. Birth control. I can shut off my tubes. I can shut off the ovulation. Well, I can destroy my seeds. Those seeds are meant to be copulated by sperm. That's how you create another man or another woman. He says, but these people, the Most High said He'll give them up to the idea that is right, even though it's wrong, because they don't believe in God anyway. Because this is what they do with the members that they're actually supposed to be using for procreation. Read on.
Come, verse 27. And likewise, also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman.
Men don't even want women no more.
Yeah.
Men looking at men.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you call them. You can't say certain things on the internet nowadays. I'm gonna call them spicy boys. Say what I don't know what to call them.
There's a cat named Saucy Santana.
Oh my goodness.
Sugar.
Saucy Santana.
Saucy Santana's pretty boy. I don't know what to call it, but we know what it is.
Fruit Loops, huh?
We know what it is. He said men don't want women no more. They're not even interested in women.
Man.
They be saying, ew.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what's crazy? We look at China. They say China's a dying civilization, and they're having to encourage women and men to get together. The men are too ashamed or too shy to even talk to women, and the women don't even want men at all. They don't want children because they want to progress in their careers.
They don't want children because in China you get penalized for having more children because they're already the population is saturated. So back in the 70s, if you had a daughter, they would throw the baby in the river.
Yeah.
The newborn baby. And the baby would just float down the river because they didn't want daughters.
Yeah.
Or they make that baby soup.
Yep. No, they do that. They do that now for aphrodisiac.
Wow. You serious?
Yeah. Yep. They watch that now. So they do that now. But in China, the population is dying.
Yeah.
But that's not just in China. They're breeding an effeminate man for the purpose of population control.
Yeah.
Because the more you don't want your woman, the less we got to worry about you having 10 babies.
Yep.
And because that's more of a burden for the government. So we'll weaken your perception to where you don't even look at another woman. And now we running with that idea. That's the life.
The bachelor life.
Yeah, that we live in the life because we got a bunch of friends that are males, half and half, such and such. This part got this part cut off. It's confusion. He said the men also leaving the natural use of the woman. Go ahead.
Burn in their lust.
And they're burning in their what?
Lust.
And they're burning in their lust, want another man.
It's crazy.
They burning in their lust. It's not love. That's not the definition of love. You don't find love that way. You can only execute lust. Read. We even did a class where we did the statistic, the numbers of homosexual relationships. They had a higher divorce rate than a regular relationship.
It's crazy.
We even did that about a year ago.
Yeah.
They had a higher rate of divorce than a regular relationship. So it's showing you that's not love. Yes, sir.
I was gonna say there's arguments with like even homosexuals that talk about how women can produce their own
like frogs.
Like mitochondria.
Yeah, like
they call it.
It's confusion.
Yeah.
We know how babies are made. Your mother and your father got together. That's how you was made. Your mother and your father hooked up at the skating rink. They was at the skating rink. They was on roller skates, and they was doing the wop on skates. Yeah. And they, they was sliding and getting it, and that's how they ran into each other and met. You know what I'm saying? It was the prom night. Whatever. Yeah. They know what they was doing. But let's not create a whole new idea of how man and woman are made. Yeah. Man and woman are made the same way they've been made. He said, but only thing that's burning is lust. Read on.
burn in their lust one toward another.
He said they burn in their lust one toward another. Read on.
Men with men.
And the Bible is telling you what that is nothing but men that are burning. The Lord has given their mind and their thoughts over because they don't believe in God anyway. So he gives them over to their lust. So go ahead and burn in your lust then. Read on.
Men with men working that which is unseemly.
He said it's unseemly. It's not right.
Kind of.
It's not right for men to be with men. That's what God says. That's what the Bible says. The Bible says, let God be true and every man a what?
Liar.
Let every man be a liar, man. We rather obey God rather than men. You know what? And it's sad to say, a lot of them be our family members.
Yeah.
A lot of them be our cousins. Sometimes it's our mothers. Mothers don't want a man no more.
Yeah.
Like Jay-Z mom. That was that 444 album. That was one of them songs. My mother don't want a woman don't want a man no more. She's in love with another woman. He was ashamed of that. He brought that out on his album. You know what? Same thing with men. Men got kids, but now they got another man in the house. And the sad thing is, it be people that we know. But somebody got to tell them the truth. Read on.
And receiving in themselves that recompense of their error, which was meat.
And it says the recompense of the error is death.
Yeah.
He says, which is right or meat, because what? Why is death right for that mentality? Right? Why is that? Read on.
And even as they did not like to retain the Most High in their knowledge.
It says they did not. The reason why death is appropriate for that mentality, he says, because they didn't want to maintain and retain God in their what?
In their knowledge.
In their knowledge. If they would have just remembered God and kept God as the priority, even over their own preferences, they wouldn't get the result that they're going to receive. Yes, sir.
Are we talking about the spiritual death or the physical death?
We're talking about death on many levels.
Yeah.
That a person receives that deals with abominations. It's not just you're gonna die anyway. The Bible says, it's appointed that all men die once. Everybody's got to die. Everybody's gonna inherit physical death. Who's gonna live in the flesh forever? This flesh don't last that long. Everybody's got to die. But he ain't talking about that death. He's talking about the death where your soul burned.
Yep.
That's a worse death. This death is the death we gonna die is but for a moment. But the other one is eternal. But what you do in the flesh signifies what's going to happen in the spirit. Finish that in 28.
Come. And even as they did not like to retain the Most High in their knowledge, the Most High gave them over to a reprobate mind.
And a reprobate mind is a mind that says, I'm exempt from following God. Yeah. Because ultimately, when you want to continue to do sin, God will just give you over to that mind frame that you don't have to follow God. That you got choices. You have options. And that God agrees with your mentality. That's a reprobate mind. Read on.
To do those things which are not convenient.
And they do those things which are not convenient. This is what's going on in Canaan. This is what's going on in the Greek Empire. This is what's going on during the Roman Empire. This is what's going on now in America. So, has anything really changed? Not really. Nothing's really changed. People are doing the same thing they've been doing for thousands of years. But since we're going back to the origin of it, we're going back to why the Most High said, do not go to Canaan. Who had that in Leviticus chapter 18?
Leviticus chapter 18, now verse 24. Defile not yourselves in any of these things, for in all of these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you.
He says all these things, we're in Leviticus chapter 18, verse 24. He says all these things the who does? The nations do. So God does not want the children of Israel to follow the nations because their laws are polluted. Their ways of life and their behavior is contaminated. He doesn't want us to follow their commandments. Now, we follow the laws. We're not breaking laws, but that doesn't mean we have to participate in certain laws that the Most High considers abominable. All right? So now let's go back, let that go, and let's go back to Genesis chapter 28, and we're in verse 12.
Genesis chapter 28, verse 12.
Read on. Yeah, read on.
Genesis chapter 28, verse 12. It says, and he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth.
So this was Jacob's dream, and Jacob had a dream that a ladder was sitting on the earth. Read on.
It says, and the top of it reached to heaven.
Go ahead.
And behold, the angels of the Most High ascending and descending on it.
So he had a dream where there was a ladder that went all the way from earth to heaven, and on that ladder was angels coming up and down between earth and in heaven. Now, this matches what Christ said also. But we're not going to go there because that's not the point, but we're going to read on. Read on.
Verse 13. And behold, the Most High stood above it and said, I am the Lord power of Abraham.
And what the Most High was doing by giving him this dream, he was given Jacob this dream ultimately to show who's in charge of any power that's coming and going. The Most High sits above it. He's in charge of everything. So he's introducing himself to Jacob through the dream. Give me Job chapter 33 verse 14, specifically verse 15 to get to the point. Job in the Old Testament chapter 33, and let's get verse 15. Whoever get it.
Job chapter 33, verse 15.
Let everybody get it. Job chapter 33. We'll go straight to the point. So let's read verse 15.
Job chapter 33, verse 15. In a dream.
It says, in a what?
In a dream.
Okay, in a dream, read on.
In a vision of the night.
So a dream can also be called a vision of the night. Because when you sleep, you're having visions. You're having dreams. Read on.
When deep sleep falleth upon men. So
in the old times, the Most High would speak to men through what?
Deep sleep.
When men was deep in their sleep. In old times, in times past, the Most High would use the time when a man is unconscious, semi-unconscious. You know, he's in this REM sleep. You know, he's unconscious. He's asleep. Rapid eye movement. His body is relaxed. This is when the Most High would intervene and speak to that man. Read.
In slumberings upon the bed.
Read on.
Then he openeth the ears of men.
And then he do what?
Openeth the ears of men.
Why would the Most High use a time when a man is asleep to speak to a man to open his ears up? That's when you can listen without your opinion. The Most High doesn't need our opinion when he's giving us instruction. This is why when the Most High made Eve for Adam, he put Adam to sleep. And then when Adam woke up, he had a wife. You know why? Because a man will say, well, that ain't my type. Yeah. A man will say, you know, that's not what I like. You know, I really wanted this. Because, you know, I really, you know, she's okay. But if you could, I'm going to lay back down. And if you don't mind, I'm going to lay back down for about 10 more minutes. And when I pop back up, can you just change it a little bit? Yeah, I'm going to hit the snooze button. And can you give me a new model? Because otherwise, when men are awake, well, he's going to explain. Read on.
It says, verse 16, then he openeth the ears of men and sealeth their instruction.
And he give them instructions. Because a man will interfere with instructions. So this is why the Most High will wait till a man is deep asleep in order to give him those instructions. Read on.
That he may withdraw man from his purpose.
Because men have their own purpose. They have their own desires. They have their own wants. They have their own opinions. Read on.
And hide pride.
And what do you call that?
And hide pride.
Because through men's pride, men will interfere with the vision. They'll interfere with the instruction. Because man has pride. His pride will always interfere with what the Most High has in store for him or the direction that the Most High is trying to take him. This is why when Adam was given a wife, he had nothing to do with the selection. That selection process was none of his. He woke up and boom, there she is. And it was better that way. He said he hid pride from men. So the Most High is showing Jacob something in his dream. So let that go and let's go back to where we are in Genesis chapter 28. And we're probably going to cut it from here because we're not going to really get into Laban at all. You know what I'm saying? Which is okay. Because let's continue. We're in verse 13.
Genesis chapter 28, verse 13. And behold, the Most High stood above it, and said, I am the Lord thy power of Abraham.
So the Most High is introducing himself to Jacob. He said, I am the Lord thy power of Abraham, meaning that's Abraham is Jacob's grandfather. He said, I am the power of your grandfather. Read on.
It says, thy father, and the power of Isaac.
Go ahead.
It says, the land whereupon thou liest. It says, to thee will I give it.
So even though Jacob was sojourning in the land of Canaan, the Most High was guaranteeing him something. He was making a promise to him that this land that you're in eventually is going to be yours. Read on.
And to thy seed. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth.
Which is uncountable. Read on.
It says, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west.
He says, your people are going to spread to the west. Read on.
And to the east.
And to the east. Go ahead.
And to the north.
North. And what else?
And to the south.
So he says, I'm going to expand your seed in all directions. Read on.
And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed.
He says, but I'm going to make sure that the blessing of other nations come through who?
Through thee and thy seed.
Through thee and thy seed. So the other nations will benefit from your presence. It's just like now in America. Yep. If you take away blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans out of America, this will be a dry, flavorless place. Very bland, with no culture, no flavor, no music, no good music at that. You know what I'm saying? With no good food. It'll be nursing home food, hospital food. Now some hospital food is good, but it'll be bland, flavorless food. No salt, man. When Christ said, "Ye are the salt of the earth," we bring flavor to the place, but we also are the reason why other countries benefit. They benefit from our presence.
Yeah.
And through our presence, they become a superpower.
It's true.
Wherever we are, that nation becomes a superpower. All right? We're going to leave it at that because it's about to change a little bit. So we'll come back and finish this when he's about to go into and Haran and deal with Laban and meet his wife also. So we'll catch up on this next Wednesday. Any questions so far? All right, with that, we're going to say shalom, shalom, everybody online.
Shalom.
We'll be back on Friday. Good to see everybody online and also in class. Any questions, please put it up on the thread. We'll be happy to answer. But I think we can go ahead and cut it right there.
Okay.
All right. So with that, we're going to say shalom. Let's go ahead and get up.